Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to a new edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. I am Mike Rifke, just trying to make sure everything is going smoothly. Trust me, not a tech guy, so uh, making sure everything is working here. One second before we get this show uh, going here on YouTube. All right, dive right in. If there's an echo in a few minutes, that'll be the computer airing the YouTube stuff. All right, well, let's dive right in onto the show. As we've said, or as I've said over the last little bit, we are literally coming down the stretch of the Major League Baseball season, and we're going to go over some big series. If there's an echo in a few minutes, that'll just give me 1 second again, guys. There we go. All right. So we're back, clean. Everything's working. We're on YouTube. Listen, I'm a lot of things. Tech savvy ain't one of them. So, as I said, we're coming down the stretch of the Major League Baseball season, and there's a lot of excitement for a lot of fan bases. A lot of that has to do with the third wild card spot. But we are coming down the stretch. We got a couple of weeks left of the season. We're going to go over a lot of the big series next week, over the next week. And then next week, we will go over this big series for next weekend. Fun stuff. I'm going to start this show with the Detroit Tigers, who are looking for a sweep of the Colorado Rockies this afternoon with Tarik Skubal, your AL Cy Young favorite, on the mound. The Tigers are 20-8 since August 11th, which is the best record in baseball during that span. And it's the Tigers' best record in any 28-game span since also going 20-8 from April 19th to May 20th in 2014. So you're talking about back in the Verlander and I believe Max Scherzer days too. If we're that far, Miguel Cabrera obviously too. Over that stretch, Detroit's pitching staff has posted a major league leading 2.46 ERA, while the Tigers' offense is averaging 5 runs per game, which leads the AL and ranks fifth in the major leagues. And what this run has done for the Detroit Tigers is it's put them right back into the wild card race in the American League. They are now 2.5, or with a win this afternoon, because the Minnesota Twins are off today. A win today for the Tigers, one would put them 5 games over 500, but it would make them 2.5. It would put them 2.5 games in back of the Minnesota Twins. Now, the Tigers will have a big series this weekend. We'll get into that in a little bit when we go weekend previews, while the Twins are going to be playing the Cincinnati Reds. But as I mentioned, the Tigers this afternoon, they are playing the Rockies, looking for a sweep. That is right now 1-0 Rockies in the top of the fourth inning. Keep you updated as we go along. But this is something, I think it was Dan and we talked about this during spring training. We wanted to see an improvement from both the Royals and the Tigers. And the Royals, by far and away, have been awesome all year. But the Tigers, it's been up, it's been down, it's been down, it's been up. And you want to see what the next phase of the Tigers is going to be. And they have a couple of young players who are studs. Riley Green at the top of that list. Spencer Torkelson, the former number one overall pick, he's really struggled. But since his recall, I think September 1st or even late last month, he's been pretty good. They're waiting on that. They've got a young pitching staff. It's time for ownership to maybe spend some money this winter, even if the Tigers miss the playoffs, because you're seeing the beginning of something unfold. And with the AL Central being what it is, and it's topsy turvy every year, the Tigers can find themselves in a very important spot. And so maybe they go out and land in an Alex Bregman, who played for AJ Hinch in Houston to play third base. Maybe they add a guy in the rotation, a veteran piece to kind of not be your ace because that's Tarek Skubal, but maybe you add a guy who could be your 2 or a 3. The Tigers need to start spending again. I think that's something that this team is showing. Hey, we're there. So I'm kind of good with what the Tigers are at the moment. Win this afternoon, and they become 2.5 games back at the Twins. And I don't believe they play each other again, but I will double check that right now. But Detroit, listen, they're getting great pitching. Really, a no-name bullpen too has been really solid for them. Well, all right. So they play the Royals next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, and that's it. They do not play the Twins again. So their closest competition will be the Royals. They play the Orioles twice. So we'll get into that. They got the Rays, and they end the year with 3 with the White Sox. And if it comes down to 3 with the White Sox, you better win. That's all I'm gonna sit here and say. So that's the Tigers and where they're at. Again, making things interesting in the American League wild card. Both wild card races are fantastic. I'm going to get into both in a minute. But I want to talk about something else. There was interesting conversation. I actually just saw the headline on ESPN, and I really wanted to discuss it. It's an article by Jesse Rogers talking about the White Sox, who are on pace to break the 1962 Mets record for most losses in a season. And Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, talked, I guess, yesterday. This is from Jerry Reinsdorf, Jesse Rogers, rather. With his team on a record losing pace, Chicago White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf said the year, quote, has been very painful for all in a statement released Wednesday afternoon after his team dropped its 114th game. Reinsdorf, quote, everyone in this organization is extremely unhappy with the results of the season. That goes without saying. This year has been very painful for all, especially our fans. We did not arrive here overnight, and solutions won't happen overnight either, close quote. Reinsdorf, 88, commented publicly for the first time since last season when he fired front office executives Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams, replacing them with then farm director Chris Getz, who became general manager. The team lost 101 games last season and is on pace to lose 126 this season after being swept by the Guardians this week. The Mets hold the modern record at 120. Well, going back to last year, we have made difficult decisions and changes to begin building a foundation for future success. Reinsdorf said in the statement, what has impressed me is how our players and staff have continued to work and bring a professional attitude to the ballpark each day despite a historically difficult season. No one is happy with the results, but I commend the continued effort. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I don't think Jerry Reinsdorf understands. Um, The players get paid to go play. And if they don't show up, they don't get paid. And so, listen, yes, you show up at the ballpark every day, but you're getting paid to do it. You want to comment on the staff? Sure. You fired the manager long ago. Grady Sizemore's the interim. I don't think he's going to be your long term solution. But I want to go back to something brought up at the top and something I've discussed at length on the podcast. And that has to do with the situation at hand when it comes to Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn and replacing them with Chris Getz. I don't say this to be mean to Chris Getz. I don't say this to be mean to Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams. If you're going to fire people within your organization, you have to, in my opinion, do a thorough search before you just promote a guy from within. Because when you promote the guy from within, all you're doing is just changing the name. The philosophy, who knows if there's a difference in philosophy from Rick Hahn to Chris Getz? And was Rick Hahn not allowed to start a rebuild there? I don't know. These are questions that are going to go on. Because I look at the White Sox, I don't want to say they're a failure, but they're a failure. They failed the trade deadline. Like look back at the trade deadline. What did the White Sox do that you say, you know what? I understand what they're doing. They're retooling everything. No, they're not. I don't see it. If someone sees what the White Sox are doing, explain it to me because I'm totally confused. Now, I get why Garrett Crochet wasn't traded because he opened up his big mouth. I get why Luis Robert wasn't traded. He's not having a good season. But Eric Fetty could have gotten them more. Kopech could have gotten them more. They wound up doing a 3-team deal with the Dodgers and the Cardinals, and they wound up getting two guys who are older than being prospects and just haven't been given an opportunity. They could have done a lot better. Now, unless they're going to go full out this winter and just throw the dynamite in and blow this thing up, and Robert's gone and Crochet is gone and Andrew Bess. I know they won 90 games in, I think it was 22 and 21. They were really good. But now they're not that team anymore. They let go of Lance Lynn. They let go of Lucas Giolito. They let go of Tony La Russa, Jose Abreu, etc., etc., etc. Now you have to figure out what your plan is. And if there is no plan, that's a whole nother story. Here's the thing. Jerry Reinsdorf complimenting the staff and the players and the fans. All he's trying to do is say, hey guys, I'm appreciative of everything going on. I'm not doing a damn thing about it, but I'm very appreciative of what is going on. So at the conclusion of the statement, quote, I expect to have more to say at the end of the season, Reinsdorf said at the conclusion. So there, close quote. I don't like the statement. I think it's honestly, I think it's a garbage statement. You're complimenting guys going to work every day. You're complimenting a fan base that should be rewarded for going to these games because this team is just god awful. I mean, it's a frustrating thing. And if you're a White Sox fan, I feel god awful for you. I do, because I think this is the one team in baseball, maybe with the Marlins, that has to have some sort of rebuild. We got news out of Detroit, an update from Detroit. Spencer Torkelson just hit a 2-run double. Tigers 2, Rockies 1. That's bottom of the fourth inning. Again, a Tigers win puts them 2.5 back of the Minnesota Twins for that last wild card. The Twins activate Byron Buxton off the injured list. He'll return to the lineup tomorrow. All right. Again, we're going to get into the wild card races in a few minutes as well. I want to talk a little bit about MVP because yesterday in Toronto, Francisco Lindor had his, what you could call it, a signature MVP moment. And the Mets were being no hit into the ninth inning by Bowden Francis, who was carrying a no hitter into the ninth inning for the second time in almost 3 weeks. And Lindor hit a 3-2, maybe a 2-2 fastball, and he hit it way out to right field to tie the game at 1. The Mets wound up scoring 6 runs in the ninth, held on for a 6-2 win over the Blue Jays, winning yet another series. All year long, we've all thought Shohei Ohtani's the runaway MVP. And to be fair, I still think Ohtani's the MVP. But the V word, I think, gets lost in translation a lot. That V word being valuable. Because can you look at the Dodgers and say, without Shohei Ohtani, would the Dodgers still be in first place in the NL West? Now, there's actually a legitimate argument that you could say maybe. Starting pitching hasn't been great for the Dodgers. They've had a ton of injuries, including Mookie Betts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we know how good Ohtani is. Then there's Francisco Lindor. And Francisco Lindor did not get off to a good start in April and May. But for the last 3 months, you can make the argument he's been maybe the second best hitter in all baseball behind Aaron Judge, the way he's going. And he plays a premium position in shortstop. Ohtani DHs. So is there a real conversation here between Lindor and Ohtani? For me, the answer is yes. I think there could be a real conversation. I would still take Ohtani just because, one, we've never had 50-50 season. 2, he's been great all year. Lindor's had a great 3 months. But there is something hanging over for me on Ohtani. And I think a lot of people like to neglect this because of what's transpired since. And that's the gambling scandal involving Ippy Mitsuhara. The problem for me is when Major League Baseball conducted their own investigation, we've never gotten the findings of what MLB found. They said they found nothing, but I don't take them for their word. I think we're at the point now. I'm not saying Ohtani's guilty. So for people who are going to come out and say, you're going to hold that over him. No, I just said I think he's still the MVP. But if I find out in January that the gambling aspect was really Shohei Ohtani, that that dampens the MVP award. That tarnishes what he's done. You know, listen, all I'm asking for is for MLB to release the findings. I don't think that's so much to ask for. I think we have a right to know as fans. Now, if he's innocent, I do think he's the MVP. There you go. I don't think Lindor can take it from him. I don't. But we're here for now. I want to understand what is going on. I think everyone has a right to know. If you don't think you have a right to know, you're lying to yourself. But it's still Ohtani. I think this is a race with Lindor. The American League's a little bit different. I still think it's Judge, and I think it's Judge handily, as well as Bobby Witt's played. So there's that. So I just want to know the findings, because if we find out in January or December the gambling issue for Ohtani was truly Ohtani and not Ippy Mitsuhara, well, guess what? That changes everything. And by the way, Ohtani's going to get to 50-50. He's at 47, 48 now of both homers and steals. He'll get to 50-50. And we've never seen it. So Dodgers also got Yoshinobu Yamamoto back this week. I'll tell you this. I'm a little weary on the Dodgers right now. I'm a little concerned. The starting pitching has me very concerned because is Gavin Stone going to be okay for the playoffs? When's Kershaw coming back? When will I get Tyler Glasnow back? Because right now, who's starting the 3-game series? Who started, or a 5-game series? Who are your 3 starters? I love Walker Buehler, but Walker Buehler hasn't pitched well since coming back from injury. So Gonsolin, I know, made a rehab start. I don't know how close he is. Kershaw, again, I don't know. Glasnow, again, we don't know. So right now, you're looking at Yamamoto. Bobby Miller struggled too. So it's Yamamoto and then 2 question marks. That is a massive problem for the Dodgers. And if you look at teams around them in the National League, just for argument's sake, well, Arizona, you got Gallen, you got Kelly, you got Eduardo Rodriguez. The Padres, Darvish, Musgrove, Michael King. The Phillies, it's Nola, Wheeler, and probably Christopher Sanchez or Ranger Suarez. The Mets, it's Severino, it's Peterson, and it's Sean Manaea. The Braves, it's Schwellenbach, Fried, and Charlie Morton. This is where it's very concerning. If you're a Dodger fan, a lot of things, you're worried about a lot of things for the next 2 weeks. And if you get that first round bye, if you're the Dodgers and you get the first round bye, maybe that helps you. That gives Glasnow a little bit more time and Kershaw a little bit more time. But you're going to have to, have some play very well over the next 2 weeks. And the Dodgers' schedule over that span, not going to be easy. They have 4 with the Braves this weekend in Atlanta. And as a Met fan, we are big Dodger fans. You have 4 with the Dodgers this weekend. Then you're going to Miami for 3. Then you get the Rockies for 3. And then you end the year with then you get 3 with the Padres and then 3 more with the Rockies. So 2 of your last 3 series are the Rockies. So you got that going for you. But you're going to need to figure this thing out. And so you're going to have to figure out this rotation. I don't envy Dave Roberts. I don't think he's a great manager, to be honest with you people. But this year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The National League, man, the National League playoffs are going to be fun. The three wild card teams are really going to have earned it. The Brewers are very intriguing. The Phillies, we know how good they are. And the Dodgers pitching has questions. But everyone has questions in the National League. American League, the Yankees are good. Cleveland's good. The Astros are good. Then you look at the wild card. Baltimore, they're 4.5 up. The Royals are a game and a half up on Twins. And then we brought it up before. The Tigers are 3 entering today. The Red Sox and Mariners are 4 entering today. Look, I'm a little bit out on the Mariners still. I'm still waiting for that offense to get going. They did just put Luis Castillo on the injured list, so I don't want to throw them out of there because they are still technically alive, and their schedule is going to be tough. They got 2 series with Texas. They got a series with the Yankees. They got a 3-gamer with the Astros, and then they end the year with the A's. Well, by the way, give the A's credit for how well they've played lately. They've been a solid baseball team at 64 and 82, but no one expected them to be any good. The Red Sox. Listen, I gotta give the Red Sox credit. AL Manager of the Year has become very interesting too. I was big Stephen Vogt guy, but Alex Cora, Matt Quatrano in Kansas City deserves a lot of credit. Joe Espada in Houston. The Astros were dead and buried after April. The Red Sox, they'll line up this way. They got 4 with the Yankees this weekend, and shockingly enough, Sunday's not the Sunday night game. 3 with the Rays, then a big one next weekend at Fenway. Twins, Red Sox, massive series. Then they play the Blue Jays and the Rays to end the year. The team in the American League that I'm concerned with are the Orioles, to be honest with you. I think they'll get in. They're 4.5 up in that first wild card spot, and they're still alive in the AL East. They're a game and a half behind the Yankees. Here's the thing for me on the Orioles. Offensively, they're hot and cold right now. That I don't know if they're a little too reliant on the home run ball, but listen, the offense is going to do its thing. It's the pitching that really concerns me. And I like Mike Elias. I think he's done a really good job, but he failed this team at the trade deadline. To get Trevor Rogers as your only starting pitcher, to me, that's an abject failure. This is a team that needed a guy to line up behind Corbin Burnes in case Grayson Rodriguez could not go. And Grayson Rodriguez, I don't think he's come back from his injury. This rotation's got a lot of question marks. The bullpen they knew had question marks, and they really didn't do much with it. I am very concerned about the Orioles. Now, people are going to sit here and say, they're young, they could get back. You can't guarantee that, especially in the American League, and especially in the American League East. The Yankees are the Yankees. Now, we'll see what happens with Soto. If Soto leaves, might change the whole thing in the American League. But the Yankees are the Yankees. The Red Sox should be willing to spend money next in the winter, especially off of what they've done this year. The Rays are going to get healthy next year. Shane McClanahan, Shane Baz. If they can add a couple of pieces here and there too, they're good. And then the Blue Jays, to me, are the biggest disappointment in all baseball. But if they can get Vladdy locked up or Bichette, and they add a couple of things here and there, they have Gosman, Barrios, and Bassett at the top of the rotation. Bowden Francis has earned his way into the rotation next year. What do they do with Alek Manoah is a big question mark. Can they lock up a Vlad long term? Are they aggressive in free agency? What do they do? I think these are fair questions on the Toronto Blue Jays. But the point being is the Orioles need to figure this thing out. Is Corbin Burns going to get locked up? Santander? How aggressive are they on the pitching front? Very interested to see. Now it's new ownership. Now you have to go out and be willing to see if they can spend the money. But if you look at the National League wild card situation too, we went over the divisions very briefly, but the National League wild card, you've got 5 teams in this ballpark. The Diamondbacks are in the first spot. The Padres are half game behind them. The Mets are a game and a half behind the Padres and only 2 behind the Diamondbacks. Then it's the Braves. Then it's the Cubs, who are 5. But I'll give the Cubs some love. They just took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. And by the way, they get the Rockies this weekend. Then they get the A's, who I talked about before, coming to them. Then they play the Nationals. Then they get the Phillies and the Reds to end the year. That's going to be interesting to see how the Cubs play out. But they're going to probably have to do it without Justin Steele, who went on the injured list. They do have Shota Imanaga, who's been fantastic. But Kyle Hendricks has really struggled. Jameson Taillon's had his moments. This offense has gotten going, though. They're scoring some runs. Bellinger, Swanson, they're doing their thing offensively. That's been huge for the Cubs. The Braves, give the Braves credit too. Listen, as much as as Met fan, you really don't want to. Look, they've had a ton of injuries and they've hung around here. Like I mentioned, they got 4 with the Dodgers this weekend. They just split 2 games with the Nationals. But they get 4 with the Dodgers, 3 with the Reds, and then sorry about that. 3 with the Reds. They get 3 with the Marlins, 3 with the Mets before they finish off with the Royals, which could be a big series for the Royals, too. So the Braves have hung around. Ozuna's had a great year. Olson's come alive. I believe they've gotten Albies back. And give credit to their starting pitching. Chris Sale versus Zach Wheeler for National League Cy Young is going to be an interesting conversation as well. Then there's the Mets. They start a massive series this weekend with the Phillies. Then they play the Nationals. Then they get 4 with the Phillies at Citi Field next weekend. And unfortunately for us, listen, I got to go off on something with that one, though. So Thursday night, and I'll probably repeat the same rant on next week's show. This is just where I'm going with this. Thursday night's game is going to be a Fox game, which is fine, national broadcast. Friday night, Phillies Mets. The Mets are in the middle of a pennant race, as are the Philadelphia Phillies. And that game's on Apple TV. Are you kidding me? Major League Baseball's got to do something about that one. You're telling people the only way you can watch your team in the middle of a pennant race is by having Apple freaking TV? Are you kidding? That's ridiculous. Now, if they're willing to simulcast the games on the local television stations, okay, I can deal with that. But the fact that you're going to broadcast these games on Apple TV and they mean something to the fan bases, irresponsible. It's a bad job by Major League Baseball. It really is. It really is. Bad enough there are Sunday games on Roku that you got to figure out. Bad enough there are other Apple TV games and there's blacked out games. You have to figure this thing out because let's be real honest here. September baseball is what we freaking care about. Now let me just play a little story. The Mets right now in the National League East are 8 games behind the Phillies. Let's argument's sake this for a second. Mets take 2 of 3 from the Phillies. They get to 7 out or 6 out, however you want to phrase it. The Phillies next week are playing the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee before they come to Citi Field. Say the Brewers win 2 of 3, and the Mets beat the Nationals. The Mets are 10-2 against the Nationals. The Mets all of a sudden they go from 7 to 4 or 5 games out. 4 games set at Citi Field. Second game you can't watch because it's on Apple TV. Unbelievable Major League Baseball. I'll probably repeat the same thing tomorrow, next week on this show. So brutal. It's brutal. But anyway, back to the Mets for a second. I'm hitting the wrong button on my phone as usual. So they play the Phillies. Then they have that huge series in Atlanta before they end with 3 in Milwaukee, which probably won't mean anything for the Brewers, who are ahead in the National League Central by, I want to say it's 9, 8.5. They've already got a magic number. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, if I'm being honest. But, man, this race is going to be fun. Wild cards are going to be fun. Divisions are still up for grabs. This is what baseball was hoping for when they implemented that third wild card. So that's huge too. You know, stuff's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be epic. Some news out of Boston. James Paxton, who is still holding out hope that he can recover from an injury, pitch for the Red Sox this season. But if he doesn't, the veteran left-hander said he plans to retire once the season ends. So Paxton said this, quote, "I'm hoping that we can squeak into the postseason and I can get the opportunity to pitch again," the left-hander said on the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast with host Rob Bradford Wednesday. Quote, "But I think after this season, I'm going to be retiring and moving on to the next chapter. It was tough. Obviously, I think that I could still do it. I can still go out there and compete and help a team win. But I just think with where my family's at and what they need right now, they need me home. And I feel a duty and a responsibility to be at home with my family. And I'm looking forward to being at home with my family and spending more time with them too." Close quote. The Red Sox acquired Paxton in July, but 3 starts into his stint, he strained his calf following a quick trying to cover first base. So 11 seasons with the Mariners, Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers. Paxton 73-41 with a 3.77 ERA. A lot of injuries. Congrats to James Paxton on a tremendous career, if this is indeed it. And I like his reason. I do. I respect the fact that he said, "I want to spend more time with my family." Respect that. Cheers to you, James Paxton. So, but before we close out and we go over some weekend series that we want, I would like to go over. There's something that's been discussed, and I've been hearing, and I just wanted to talk about it. And, people have been talking about this National League Rookie of the Year, whether it's Paul Skeens, whether it's Jackson Merrill. And I've thought about this for a while. And I might be crazy. That's totally fair. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not saying I would do it. Football, you have AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, or you have Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Not specific to the league, to conference, just by league. What if we did similar thing with Rookie of the Year in baseball? Position Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year. I'm not saying it'd be worth it, but I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know. Let us know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe. You guys know what to do. All right, on to the big series of the weekend. Actually, two other notes, and then we'll get into the series. Tonight in Seattle for the Texas Rangers, Kumar Rocker, the former Vanderbilt prospect, he makes his major league debut. And tomorrow night in Seattle, the return of Jacob deGrom. Oh boy. deGrom, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, all in the same rotation next year. Maybe the Texas Rangers are back into things next year if their offense could get going. So yeah, that's where we're at there. So again, on to the big series of the weekend. Mets and Philly. The Mets have announced Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, David Peterson are gonna start. One big note for the Mets. They will avoid Zach Wheeler. He pitched last night against the Rays. Huge win for the Mets there, not having to face Zach Wheeler. So, who's owned them since he's left. They will face Aaron Nola, though. So, there's that. The Orioles go to Detroit. We talked about the Tigers earlier. Baltimore, it's been interesting. But they go to Detroit. Red Sox Yankees is, always Red Sox Yankees. Huge series for both. Listen, the Yankees looking to win the AL East, the Red Sox looking to squeak into the playoffs. And the Red Sox have always played the Yankees well under Alex Cora. So there's that. Dodgers Braves, massive series in Atlanta. That's a 4-game. That's going to wrap around Friday to Monday. Twins Reds. Talked about the Twins earlier. They're just if the Tigers win today, 2.5 up. The Reds playing spoiler a little bit. Beat the Braves the other day. Did lose 2 out of 3 to the Mets, but found a way to win that third game. Rangers Mariners. Again, the Mariners still alive. Texas looking to play spoiler. And then the Giants and Padres rivalry. Giants looking to knock the Padres down a little bit. Brewers Diamondbacks. That's a rematch from the wild card series last year. They'll meet up in Arizona. That's a massive series. By the way, Arizona 82-64, the Brewers 83-62. So, and then going into next week, just because I don't know when we're going to do the show, whether it's Wednesday or Thursday. Twins Guardians, big series in the AL Central. Tigers Royals is a massive one. Phillies Brewers, that's going to be for best record in the National League. Astros Padres, that's a big one. Blue Jays play the Rangers, and all I still think about is the Rougned Odor versus Jose Bautista stuff. So there's that as well, guys. Braves, Reds, Nats, Mets, those matter, but not to that degree. But listen, we're coming down the stretch. We got about 2 weeks left of the baseball season. It doesn't get better than this. Thank you for listening in or watching this episode of Batter Up, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. Later tonight, Thursday night gridiron, previewing Bills Dolphins right here on the SIN YouTube page. Like, comment, subscribe. Do what you got to do. YouTube. Go to the website www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Follow us on the socials: Facebook, Sports Insanity Network; Twitter, S Insanity Real. And a shout out to our friends Rudy Campos and Sweep the League. They do great stuff every night. Check them out on their YouTube page as well. Sunday sideline report with myself and the old ops guy, potentially Danny Boy as well. That'll be live Sunday morning. We'll talk to you then. Everyone, have a great weekend. And we're coming down the stretch, guys. Enjoy. Talk to you.